everyone, my name is Gillian Perkins and I'm an author and an entrepreneur. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you about how I became a published author at age 21, exactly how I got published, and how you could get published too. When I was 21 years old, I decided to write my first book. I actually used an interesting process to get the entire thing written in just 1 month, and I have an entire video about that, so if you want to learn how I wrote the book, then I'll leave a link down below for you to go check that out. But today I'm going to be sharing with you about how I actually got published. So you might be aware that there's two main different ways to get published. There's traditional publishing and there's self-publishing. Now a few years ago, this picture looked way different. There was traditional publishing way up here, and that's what every real author did. And then there was self-publishing way over here, and it was expensive and it wasn't very credible, and if you self-published, you were probably never going to amount to anything as an author. You probably weren't going to become a full-time author, and no one was going to really take you seriously because you had bought your way into the industry. But things have changed a lot in the past few years, and I'm going to explain to you exactly why, because as you can probably guess from what I'm telling you right now, I self-published and I do not regret it for a second. So hear me out. This is why I'm not sorry I self-published. There is so much competition for books these days that traditional publishing companies have a really hard time marketing books. Publishing companies are in the business of publishing books, and they have a small amount of expertise in the industry of marketing books, but it's not their main deal. Their main deal is publishing the books, and they do that very, very well. But in order for the books to be successful, they have to be marketed very well. Because of this, they are looking for books that will be easy to market. Now, normally books that are easy to market are from authors who already have a substantial following, either because they already have a successful book under their belt or because they are an influencer of some sort. You may have noticed that there's a big trend lately with YouTubers and Instagram models who are writing their own books and getting published. There's nothing wrong with this, but this is just the proof that publishing companies are very interested in publishing books of people who already have influential followings. And that totally makes sense. But what are the rest of us going to do, who do not have giant followings that inspire publishers to contact us and say, please write a book? Well, that's where self-publishing comes in. In just the past few years, a few companies have come out with something called print on demand. And what that means is they print a copy of your book that you self-publish whenever somebody buys it. So you go on Amazon and you're like, oh, I want to buy that book. And then what happens is Amazon orders that book from the publishing company, that's a print-on-demand company. They print a copy of your book just for that specific customer, and then it gets shipped to the customer. And the customer doesn't even realize that this happened, especially for them, but it did. There is no inventory being stored anywhere, either at the publisher or at your house or at Amazon. Zero inventory. What's amazing about this is nobody has to pay for the inventory and nobody has to store the inventory. A few years ago, if you wanted to self-publish a book, you had to pay a large sum of money up front, often many thousands of dollars, maybe even $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 to have your book published, because it was a big ordeal to print a brand new book and you had to be buying the inventory at the same time. So there was all the setup costs, and then you were buying the books for a few dollars, maybe up to $10 per book. So this was a very expensive ordeal, and you had no idea if your book was going to be successful. Also, because this was before the internet was as big as it is today, it was much more difficult to market a book, and it took a lot more infrastructure to market anything at all, especially nationally. You really had to have a big marketing company, which the publishing companies had relationships with, so it made sense to go through a publishing company. But nowadays, anyone can market themselves online by setting up their social media channels, maybe running some Facebook ads. There are tons of different ways to market yourself nowadays, and so many individuals are becoming influencers by marketing themselves. Basically, if you have a good idea and you're willing to put yourself out there, then you can attract a following with relative ease. So if you have an idea for a book, you don't need to wait for the approval of some publishing company that will make you a real author. You can go and publish it yourself. It is just as legitimate. You are still getting published, and people are still able to buy your book. I went through a company called CreateSpace, which actually has a partnership with Amazon. It is so easy to get your book published. I think that once my book was all done and done being written and formatted, I submitted it, and then you just basically wait a few days after you submit it, and then they approve it or they don't approve it. But it's not like they're reading your book and deciding if it's a good book. They're just checking your formatting to make sure that it lines up with their guidelines so that it will look good when it is done being published. If it's approved, then you order a sample, you look at it, make sure it looks how you want, and then you confirm online or you make changes online, and then it can go live on Amazon. Once the book is listed on Amazon, you are totally able to be ranked in the Amazon bestsellers, so you can get a lot of credibility that way. When my book came out, I did a whole lot of marketing up front for it, and I managed to sell 15,000 copies in just about the first week, which put it into at least 4 different categories of the Amazon bestseller list. This not only gave me a lot of credibility, but it also gave me a lot of momentum, and I'm still selling hundreds of copies of my book every single month, even 3 years down the line. So if you are a writer and you want to get your books into readers' hands, you want people to be able to enjoy your writing, and you want to be able to grow your credibility, grow an audience, become a full-time professional author, I would highly recommend self-publishing. I found it to be incredibly successful and a very powerful tool. It's propelled my business forward a lot because I wrote a book that helped me grow my audience for my business, so I was able to sell more of my services, and it was just a generally very positive experience. Self-publishing costs absolutely nothing up front. The only cost at all is that you are paying for copies of your book if you want them. So I bought several dozen copies so that I could sell them locally, but aside from that, there are no costs. There's no flat service fee or anything like that. So it's extremely affordable. Basically, if you write a book, then you can be published, and you can start making money by selling your book on Amazon right away. So I'd highly recommend this. If you have any questions about the self-publishing process, exactly how long any of the parts of the process took, or what steps I did, anything at all, be sure to leave them in the comments below. I will get you an answer as soon as possible. I always get a notification from YouTube whenever anyone leaves a comment on one of my videos, so I can get you an answer right away. Also, if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, then be sure to give it a thumbs up so that I know, and you can also subscribe to my channel to be notified of more videos in the future. I put out a new video once or twice every single week, and I would love to have you join me for the next one. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Gillian Perkins of GillianPerkins.com, and I'll see you in the next video.